And now, Navilin, please take it away.
Hey, okay. I don't actually, sorry. I don't actually see the stream on the website.
Oh, you don't?
Sorry.
Oh,
It's
no
that
worries. Yeah.
one.speedruns.com link,
Yeah.
right?
1 second. Maybe you need to give it a quick refresh, but that should be
Yeah,
all. Give me 1 second,
Okay.
folks.
Okay, I got it now. It's good.
Cool.
Okay. Yeah, so my name is Navi Lin, and we'll be doing some Four Swords Adventures co-op. So, yeah, we'll get into it soon, so they can start, I guess. Should I do a countdown? I suppose. Or, okay, they'll do a countdown in the stream. All right, so there's going to be obviously 2 players here. So we have ToadsWoot and Schnee. And so Toad will be green. So whenever you see green link, that'll always be Toad, and red link will always be Schnee. And there's going to be like 2 places to look. So you have the TV screen, and you also have the Game Boy screens. So the Game Boy screens are reserved for like houses and caves and stuff you go into. And so, yeah, you're going to have to switch kind of back and forth there. One thing that's kind of interesting, maybe some interesting history about this. So I ran this at the first ZSR, I think, which was in 2013. And before, like, a lot of people would ask, like, hey, is co-op a pretty good run? And we would all say, nah, it's kind of lame, because you'll see that the movement is really awkward. It's like super easy to pick up your friends, and it's very obnoxious. But in the last like 4 or 5 years, it's gotten pretty crazy. Co-op is more broken than single player at this point. There's only one thing that holds it back from being like faster or as fast as single player. But we'll get there when we get there. So this intro is pretty long. There's nothing really happening. Although this game is kind of crazy, so it gives me enough time to at least explain what's going on. So first of all, in terms of like the versions, the really, I guess in terms of co-op, I think the only difference is that this intro, pretty much, like the text, because you can't go through it like with a button press. This is a little bit shorter on Japanese than it is other versions. But in terms of co-op, that's pretty much the only difference. There might be a few, but I think you can do all the tricks on other versions too. Yeah. So here we're going to see everyone being kidnapped, and then we're going to save them. Of course, Schnee does not exist yet, so we'll have to get there. You'll see, so during these cutscenes, you can see the text boxes, and the text boxes go as fast as you can mash. One interesting thing in co-op is it kind of depends on what's happening, but like you'll see the color of the button on the bottom right of the text box. That's who can mash the text. Sometimes it's gray, which means both players can mash the text. I don't really remember like when that happens and when it doesn't. It seems kind of random. Oh yeah, so maybe I should explain, I guess, like how the game works, because it's definitely not a typical Zelda game. So it's a level-based game. So there's like 24 levels or whatever, kind of like a Mario game, I guess, in that sense. Although none of the things that you get within each level are are like carried over. So even if you get like a lamp and a boomerang and a heart container, it all resets once you go to another level. So really all the levels are strictly contained within one another. Okay, one thing I forgot to mention too is co-op has been more popular in the last couple months because Dolphin just released a build with like integrated GBAs, which you see on the left. So pretty much anyone can do this as long as you have like two decent computers. So really huge shout outs to the Dolphin dev team who did this. It makes practicing this way more interesting. The only time our community ever got like a co-op run was when Toad and Schnee visited each other, which was, maybe like once a year or twice a year if we got lucky. But now we've had like a couple more co-op sessions and runs with other people. So it definitely helps this game a lot. And there's also save states locally, which is cool. Okay, so after that intro, we'll finally start. There's not many cutscenes in the game. That one's just like super long and unskippable. Okay, so you see how like Toad, so green has blue and red has purple. You can switch the number of links you have. So in this case, you can switch from having like either 1 link or 3 links. Sometimes that will be necessary for a couple tricks. Most of the time, when you see the other person pick up the other person, it's probably on accident. You have to be like very coordinated for this to not accidentally do that, because the roll button is the same as the grab button, so it makes it very awkward. Alright, so here's the first like broken trick in the game. So you see how Toad just kind of rolled over everything? If you throw the boomerang and then grab another link, they basically just gain no clip, and they can just walk through anything for the most part. Okay, I think they might have missed something. Oh yeah, they did. So there's only one boomerang in this level, so they have to find a way to get the other person across. So they'll do that with this little maneuver here. Reuniting mechanics are very weird. So like, as the one player is reuniting, they pick up the other link with the really weird like physics that goes on there, and so they can cross like an entire screen. So this boomerang trick that they're doing is called Super Boomerang Action. Probably the best name of a trick in this game. And then the thing that they're doing here without the boomerang, which kind of is similar idea, is called Super Pickup Action, or SPA. There's SBA and SPA, which is very confusing. But they both just destroy the game collectively. And so any level that has a boomerang in it is automatically just completely destroyed. Which is, I would say maybe it's like a third of the levels, maybe a little bit more. And then for the other levels, if the other item that's broken is like the hammer. And then there are some other skips, but not too much more than that. So you see here that they were getting gems. So every level, basically what you're doing is you're trying to get 2,000 gems. And then you power up your sword once you get 2,000, and then you can break these barriers at the end. So that's the end goal of every level. In co-op, getting gems is pretty trivial, usually. Because there's like some additional mechanics where if you kill every enemy on screen, most of the time you get like a free 100. So gem routing is usually easier in co-op. Oh yeah, and then there's these results screens, right? So it's just basically saying who has the most gems and a couple other things. They take a really long time, and that's the one thing that kind of holds co-op back. If they didn't have the results screen, it would be pretty much as fast as single player. Maybe a little bit slower, but I don't know. there's still a lot of optimization to be done in this category, but it's hard to practice, obviously. There's a lot of... So this level in particular is really awkward in co-op just because of how tiny the hallways are. You can kind of do it, I guess, without, like, I don't know, counting, like, a results screen as, like, a load screen, maybe. But there actually is some optimization in the results screen. Because it times your... it counts, like, how many gems you have pretty slowly. You can kind of optimize that and save some time on the results screen every stage. Because, like, for example, like, if one link gets 2,000 gems, but the other one gets 0, you actually waste, like, 10 seconds or something, because it has to count all the gems for one person, and not the other. So, I mean, as dumb as it is, like, there is some kind of optimization for that. But yeah, it would be nice if it just didn't exist. Yeah, and again, this, so there's colored blocks, so they have to push with the color link. And yeah, it's just super awkward. With 2 people trying to roll around in this. You have to coordinate everything. One thing that can also get confusing is, like, usually red link always has purple and green link always has blue. But you can, like, swap links. So sometimes you can kind of lose track of your second link that you have. Okay, so this is one of the few levels that is basically glitchless. There's no boomerang, there's no hammer, or really anything else, so just kind of going through it. This next screen is pretty awful. So there's a bunch of bats, and you have to kill all these bats to open the door. But there's also that switch on the other end that spawns a bridge. All the gems are going to appear on the bridge, but if you accidentally hit the switch again, the bridge will disappear and all your gems will be gone. So after this screen is our first introduction to, I guess, like a Shadow Link fight. The first one's pretty easy, but as we get to other ones, they'll give, like, more Shadow Links. And unfortunately, it's completely random which one is, like, the real one. And there's really, at least we don't know any way to tell, like, which one's real and which one isn't. Maybe someone will figure it out someday. But it's one of the worst, at least in single player. I guess it's not as bad in co-op. But it's one of the worst points of RNG of this game. It's just these fights. Obviously this one's easy because there's only one choice. Yeah, so after you weaken them enough, they will change to a certain color, and then that color is the only one able to hit them. And so you normally just have to do like a jump slash, and they pretty much die. Oh yeah, so that bomb there, at the end of each level, once you break the barrier, a random thing will appear. So it could be like a 300 gem, it could be like an orb, which has like chickens in it, or like a bomb, like that. It doesn't really matter for the run. I mean, if you get like the 300 gem, it could waste time, I suppose. Yeah, so on this screen, like, it was good that they had about the same amount of gems so that they ended at the same time. If it was really lopsided, it would waste a bunch of time there. Oh, here's Tingle. So, oh, they said yes. So usually you're supposed to say no here, but, you know, people are mashing. Oh no. Oh, I think they wanted to save, that's why. Yeah. So each world has like a Tingle minigame. Half of them are kind of lame, I guess, but when you get to the 3rd level of each world, it'll like ask if you want to play or something. Yeah, they have to save after once in a while, just in case the emulator desyncs. Yeah, so here, like, Toad can't really do anything, because the stuff Schnee was doing was, you can really only do it by yourself. But you can burn all the grass with, like, a fire source, which bombs count. And you can get some extra gems there. This is actually one where gems are super important, because there's a co-op exclusive thing. Well, I guess it's not co-op exclusive technically, but realistically, you can't really do it in single player. So there's a couple ways to do this part, but definitely the easiest way is just to go through it. Oh, I guess they're going to do a SPA here. So they're going to get a key in order to get to the north screen, but there is a way to skip it, but it's pretty difficult, especially on emulator and co-op. The controls in co-op are a little bit different. So, you know, typically you're going to be using Game Boy to control your character, so you can kind of imagine the buttons that are on it. The advantage that single player has and why it's so different is that single player uses like a GameCube controller, and all the buttons work. So you can even use the C-stick. And the C-stick is what gives you a formation. So kind of like how they're in like a horizontal formation now. You can do that in single player too, but you have more access to formations since you have 4 links instead of 2. And so the C-stick is broken in many ways because it acts differently than how you do it in co-op. And that's like the main difference between co-op and single player in terms of like why you can't do certain things. Although even then, the physics of the links are way different too. For some reason. Like, the links in co-op are super fat. It's really the only other way I can describe it. Their hitboxes are very weird. Like, when they're deselected and you're pushing them around, they act very differently in single player. So here we're naturally going to get the boomerang, because it's busted. And so this lets us skip like a really huge part of the level. So normally you have to get like 2 halves of a Great Fairy. There's like 2 Zoras to the right and to the left. And once you get them on that screen, they like join together to make a Great Fairy for some reason. I don't think I ever really understood that. And then she just busts the gate open. But that skip saves like minutes. Okay, we're gonna do a little skip here. So this is called jump storage. And so if you basically store a jump on the previous screen. And that lets you go to the upper left corner. Now above us is the boss, but we can skip the boss in co-op. So if we transition very quickly to the left, after we transition up, we'll be stuck in the final room. So normally you have to kill the boss, stairs will appear, and then you come down here. But now we're stuck in the wall. But if you die, you get like a timer to when you're going to revive. The weird quirk about this is, like, usually you either get 3 seconds or 10 seconds. If one of the players has more than double of the other player, you get a 10-second timer. And so sometimes we can abuse that to clip through things, since whenever you're in that, like, dead state, you can, like, basically go through, well, you don't get crushed by, like, solid objects. Maybe that's the better way to put it. So yeah, so basically that just let us skip the whole boss of 1-3. And the bosses always drop, like, a lot of gems. So usually it's like 750-ish. So they had to make up a lot of gems beforehand in order to skip the boss. Yeah, so this game actually has a lot of tricks that are like Wind Waker-esque, which is kind of funny because like the whole art style. I mean, so if you didn't know, the boss of this stage is Phantom Ganon. Like, it's basically the model from Wind Waker just put into sprite form. Some of the other bosses are from Wind Waker too. So, and you saw the bombs; they have the same kind of explosion. But a lot of the tricks are also similar too. So there's actually a trick called zombie storage. Just combining those two things, I suppose. And yeah, there's various things like that. So it's pretty funny how that all worked out. Okay, so 2-1 is... yeah, so I think they're basically on a quest to get the boomerang. that is like half the stages in co-op. Now, it may seem that it's like, okay, you get the boomerang and then you just kind of go through stuff. It is really, really easy to softlock in co-op. Single player, there's only like a few places where it really happens. But because you're basically just going through walls and stuff, there's a lot of situations where you can just kind of make it so you have to reset the level. So you have to be very careful about where you go and all this other things to worry about. Okay, so in that cave right below them, there's 2 boomerangs in this level. Although this level... okay, well, that green's gone. Yeah, sometimes it just happens. But luckily... well, okay, I guess gems in this level particularly are kind of annoying. So we'll have to see where they make that up. So sometimes there's a problem in this game where you, like, skip so much that there's not enough gems. And so you have to kind of take some detours to get 2,000. It only happens in like a few levels, but it's kind of annoying. Okay, so normally you have to press that switch and kill a bunch of Zoras, but again, we can just skip this. And you saw there how Schnee got stuck in a wall. Now, she was on the edge of the wall, so it really wasn't that big of a deal. But things like that can happen if you don't pay attention enough, and you're basically stuck and have to reset the level. Okay, so I guess this is our first Nova Bomb screen. So Shadow Link throws this bomb, and then it has a timer that counts down to 0. If you're on the TV screen when it blows up, or I guess you can use water too, but anyway, if you're on the TV screen when it blows up, then you just instantly die. So they reset the screen just to get like more time, so they can just skip the screen. This is another screen that they can technically skip, but again, they're pretty short on gems. They only have like 1,000 right now, and they need 1,000 more. So they're just gonna kill some extra things. So as I said before, like you can use the water to avoid the explosion. That's like the only exception to living on the TV screen. And then lastly, they have the lobster. Or Manhandla, whatever that's supposed to be. They actually did that, like, incredibly fast. That was crazy. The coordination you need for that stupid thing is pretty crazy. If you accidentally hit the wrong color, it completely resets. So even if there's only 2 left, and you hit a person hits the wrong one, all 4 will spawn again. And it's super random. Like once it bounces against the wall, it can either spin clockwise or counterclockwise. There's no like pattern to follow. So you have to react and really think about what's happening. Otherwise, it can take like a minute and then people are dying and everything. Those fights will get progressively worse as the game goes on. Yeah, so the next level is Village of the Blue Maiden, which I think is very polarizing, because for some people, this is probably where they quit the game, because their friends weren't cooperative and it takes like 50 minutes to finish. But otherwise, it's a pretty cool level. So this is basically like a long trading quest. There's not really anything to fight here. But I guess luckily or unfortunate, depending on your opinion, in any run of this, we always skip everything. So actually, co-op is way faster than single player. I don't know. Well, maybe it's the same, but anyway. So again, they need gems because they're going to skip basically everything. So they're going to do the bow minigame. So they're trying to shoot the purple gems, which are 300. Because, as I said, they're literally going to skip everything. Yeah, whenever I see like casual playthroughs on Twitch of this game, I always wait until they get to this level, and usually it's like half the people quit. Or they just quit the game completely. Because yeah, it's hard to get through this. Okay, so now that they got 2,000, they're just gonna throw away their arrows. I don't know if you can do it in co-op, but you can actually underflow your arrow count there. It doesn't do anything, but it's interesting. Okay, so they're going to do an SPA here to get on the right-hand side. Or at least one of the links is on the right-hand side. And then they'll do another one just to clip to the right. So normally you have to like do this trading quest to make a house spawn and do all this stuff. It's a really, really long level. But luckily we can just basically cheat. Now the thing they're doing here, which you can't really do in single player, is they're going to skip this Shadow Link fight that's on the screen. So by making sure not to hit the trigger and carefully transitioning up, they can get into this final screen here. And yeah, so ledge mechanics are really weird. I don't even think I can try to explain them. But yeah, when you're stuck in a wall, really weird stuff happens. Yeah, that was a really good 2-1. That boom or 2-2. That boom minigame is very difficult. It's easier with more people, but even then, it can get pretty rough. So you can see here, like the gem count was really unbalanced. So definitely wasted a few seconds there. I mean, there's not much you can do with the bow minigame. You're just desperately trying to get enough. Alright, 2-3. This level is pretty long normally. Yeah, the 2-2 is like one of the shortest levels in the game, just because you can skip everything. It's actually like, when I started playing this game in 2013, it was one of the only skips that existed. Because it's actually just so easy to skip everything. Okay, so there's this middle room here. So to the right, so that room to the right is a lamp, and the room to the left is a bow. So normally you have to get both of those things, like one at a time, to get past this room to the north. Luckily, there is a way to get... So, you need the bow in order to actually just physically get up there. And you need the lamp to open the door. We can get up there without the bow. Like, without spawning a bridge. So we don't need to go to the left side, but we do need to get the lamp in order to open that door. There is kind of a way to get behind the door, but at least in co-op, none of us are really sure how to do that exactly. Okay, so here you can see that Toad picked up the third link. I think this is the first time it's actually happened. It's impressive for them not to do that on accident. It's hard to state how hard it is to not do that. Okay, so Toad needs 3 links in order to make this fast. So Schnee will bring back one of their links to the other end of the room, so that as soon as they leave this room, or Toad leaves this room, they can just switch to purple and immediately leave. Now there's one thing they had to be careful of, which thankfully they didn't do. But if you have a link that's holding an item in GBA screen as you leave, the link will just drop the item. It's a really bad oversight, because it's not anything like unusual or weird. But in co-op, it's awful, because the item will just completely despawn, and you literally have to reset. There's nothing else you can do. So in co-op, it's even worse than single player. Okay, so here they're trying to do this trick. I think Toad got it. Called Out of Bounds. And so you have to press X, or press the select button, on the frame that you enter the other screen. So when Link's stops walking. And what that let him do is, because of the way the rooms are arranged, if you switch to the Out of Bounds link, you can basically skip that whole maze that they make you go through to get the lamp. I think that's the only time co-op does it. They might do it one more time, I can't quite remember. But yeah, that trick is 1 frame. And, well, especially when you're playing on emulator with buffer, it's basically just a mash fest. And you just kind of have to get lucky. Okay, there, so you see Schnee did something, this weird reunite trick to get purple up there, so that basically skips the bow. And then, because Link's grab range is insane, they can just, or she can just grab Toad, over a whole gap. So yeah, that helped them skip the whole bow. This is one of 2 rooms that is completely different than single player. So single player, this is just a big rectangle that's essentially a tile room. But here, they made these trapdoor rooms with this block push and everything. I'm not sure what possessed them to completely rearrange this room, but I guess it's interesting. There, that's the laggiest room in the game. That big chest in the middle there, we'll actually see another one in World 6. If you wind up finding... So there's a big key in this game. And the big keys open those big chests. And they have 1,000 gems in them. It's this big green thing. Alright, so this is... for some reason, I'm blanking on the name. I think someone who knows a link to the past would probably know who this is. I don't know why I can't think of their name right now. But he makes monkey sounds. Although we won't... I don't think we'll hear the monkey sounds, unfortunately. This is one of the few bosses that... I guess we skipped PG. Well, anyway. We can... Oh, Argus, okay. Yeah. So we can actually skip this boss. This is not normal, usually. So how this game works is whenever you get into a fight that has a cutscene, typically the screen becomes locked. So even if you can get to the edge of the screen, it just won't let you transition. When they did Phantom Ganon skip in World 1, they had to transition very fast before the cutscene started, because then it wouldn't let them transition, and they actually... I guess, well, they could have done it. They could have fixed it, but it would have been really bad, basically. But this is one of the few fights where for some reason it doesn't lock the screen, so you can actually just skip it. This isn't true for most boss fights. But in this case, conveniently, we can just skip it. This level has a ton of gems, so we don't really have to worry about it. Even though we don't have any monkey sounds, unfortunately. One of the highlights of the run. So I guess if you're wondering about like 3-player and 4-player, I mean, maybe this will change in the future, kind of like how co-op was. But 3-player and 4-player is difficult. Because of the way the boomerang trick works, you can't really do it too much. Especially in 4-player, 100% does not work. 4-player is pretty much glitchless. No, it doesn't have anything to do with GBA screen. It's just that screen in particular. Most of the single-player things carry over to co-op, besides like the general link movement and mechanics. But most of the game like acts the same. There is one weird quirk about the GBA screen, but yeah, I don't. But otherwise, they're basically the same. Alright, so luckily, in like the second screen, we get the boomerang. So you kind of already know what's going to happen here. This is a little difference from co-op, this fence. I guess they want you to like lock your friends out so you can get gems for free. Just another way for you to hate your friends, you know? Yeah, so since we have the boomerang, we're just gonna go through this whole thing. Again, we do have to be careful. So like, for example, a Toad is gonna have to go up a little bit, because if they were to transition right away, green would wind up in the bottom. And it's not really a soft lock, but it definitely wastes a lot of time. The screen with the squirrels is obnoxious, but thankfully they didn't get owned. Okay, again, Toad has to be a little careful here, so he's going to go up so that you'll... Because if you transition, if Toad was at the bottom, they would transition into the tree. So then Schnee would have to get them unstuck again. Okay, so here they're going to get into an upper level. And as I said before, the ledge mechanics are very weird in this game. So you see they're going to jump on a very specific tile. And it's going to do like the super jump thing, where they go to the upper half there. Again, if you're in places where you're not intended to be, the like ledge mechanics are very strange. They can actually skip the screen if they wanted to, but again, they need gems in order to finish, so. Okay, here there's 4 gems under this rock, and they're gonna do a disco gems. So you see, once they get the gems, they all like dance above them. It's just this weird thing that happens when you get a bunch of gems at the same time. Yeah, the ogres are not fun. There's well, this was a long time ago, but in the last level, actually, when they grab you, they like siphon gems from you and they throw them all over the place. In the last level, there's these ogres where there's like holes around the level or around the screen, and if they grab you, they'll throw your gems in the pit, and then you lose a bunch of time. Luckily, it doesn't matter anymore.
Sorry.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Would it be okay if I read a quick donation?
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Alright, so just quickly want to read one donation from a new artist donating $75 and saying, Legend of Zelda has been my favorite game media series for a very long time. The community around these races and randoms has been great as well. So good to see it all be used for a good cause. And I agree. Just quick notification, we are still working on the Breath of the Wild true glitchless Master Sword pull, and we're currently $392 away, so let's try to get that met. Let's go.
Nice. Okay, so 3-1. Oh yeah, 3-1 also has a boomerang, luckily. But we have to take... It's a little bit of work to get it. So here we have to extinguish the fire using water jugs. That was unfortunate. Yeah, the throw mechanics are very finicky. Yeah, they need to get an extra water jug to extinguish some fire. But that's okay. Oh, so what happened with Toad there is sometimes the links will just push each other out of the screens. Just kind of obnoxious. Okay, so we'll use this last water pot to get past this bridge. So in one of the GBA screens on the previous screen had like fire pots, and that's how you light these fuses that eventually blow up. And the whole goal is to blow up this wall that's blocking your way. But again, we have the boomerang, so we're just going to ignore all of that stuff. So the thing here is they don't really have a choice but to actually get stuck in a wall, I think. Yeah. But, you know, again, the boomerang is just busted in multiple different ways, so they can do this weird thing with the menu to clip out. So as long as they have two boomerangs, it actually is pretty hard to soft lock. But in some cases, when you only have one boomerang, you have to be a little bit careful. Crossing this pit is kind of annoying. You know, typically you're supposed to wait for a rock to land in the hole. I have a couple clips of me waiting, so we don't really do that anymore, but I have a couple clips of me waiting for like over a minute for just a rock to fall in the hole. It's pretty awful. Yeah, so they need to get gems here, because again, they skipped like way too much. So they're just getting these fire pots to get some more gems. And these shadow links always drop 100. Just getting some more there. And yeah, so just boomerang time, skipping everything. Unfortunately, this next screen, they cannot skip because there's not like a ladder. So we have to kill the shadow links. This is one of the first instances of like a really bad shadow link fight. So again, there's 4 of them, but only one is the real one. So you have to kind of get lucky. And there's no way to tell which one's real or not. Okay, so they got the real one up here. And these guys are a pain to kill, because they block like half the stuff that you do. Nice boomerang time saver there. That was pretty cool. Again, they want to make sure they have enough gems for the boss fight. There's an owl conversation here. Typically in co-op, it's hard to skip it. But this one was pretty easy to skip, because the trigger doesn't really cover the whole thing there. Yeah, you can see that Schnee accidentally picked up Toad's blue link, so that's something that happens all the time in co-op, especially if you're first starting out. Okay, so this is Helmer Rock King, as most of you probably recognize. So the first objective is to bash off their mask. So you do that by bombing them, and then they will fall into the cave. Then you just hammer the mask off. Then once you do that, you just have to do the bomb again, and then just try to kill them. It is possible to one-cycle this boss. I think it's like really hard in co-op, if not impossible. Just because, again, not having control of all the links makes it pretty awkward. Okay, it's possible, yeah. It's a lot easier if you use, like, bombs. Because, like, bombs actually do a lot of damage to bosses and stuff like that. Yeah, right. So 3-3, again, there's like a boomerang in the 4th screen. So again, we're gonna break some stuff. This level is like really lame. There's like a really huge tile screen that takes forever, and you just kind of have to sit there and wait for it to stop. But since you have the boomerang, we can skip over all the lame stuff. It also has, so this has a unusual boss. It just has like 3 Dodongos in a room, and you can't even do like a quick kill like in Zelda 1, which I'm really sad that they didn't put in. I feel like they should have had some kind of homage to Zelda 1 in that way. But anyway, so you can't quick kill them, so you just have to wait for them to open their mouth. And then you put a bomb in there, and there's 3 of them. And you have to do it 3 times, so yeah, it takes quite a long time to do that boss fight, and it's basically all random. But yeah, we have the boomerang, and since it's not like a real boss fight, it doesn't lock the screen, luckily. So you can just skip right through it. So you can bounce these guys in the lava to kill them, but the physics are very strange, so a lot of the times it's just easier to stun them and just try to kill them normally. Yeah, so again, the game wants you to get the Rock's Feather here, off to the left, which involves this really long, arduous tile room. But yeah, we can just skip over that. Usually there's like a little puzzle here to get a key, but yeah, not doing that either. This is a room you can skip, but you only have to kill 1 guy and then you can continue. And yet again, another screen that... This screen's really annoying. There's not a lot of room to get past everybody and all of that. Oh yeah, this is... So, it was very important that Toad went down there, because if you were to transition on top of a hole, that's a definite soft lock. There's really nothing to get out of there. Unless you're really close and the other link picks you up. Usually, like, 90% of the time you soft lock. This is probably one of the worst Shadow Link fights in the game. It's very easy to get hit, and they're a lot more spread out than usual. Alright, so they got moderately lucky there. These fights are really just not fun. It is harder than it seems to kill those guys. Right, so again, so since they're skipping these fights, so normally the Dodongos will drop like 100 gems each. So we needed to kind of overstock on gems to get past that. So this is a small skip, so normally you have to go to the right to talk to an owl so that the fire goes away, but, you know, we basically have a cheat code, and we're, of course, going to use it. I think this is the 3rd maiden we saved. If you haven't already, maybe keep track of the maidens and think about what your favorite one is. Usually there's like 1 or 2 that everyone gravitates towards. But our community has opinions about some of them because sometimes they just talk way too much. So the next stage, we get to see Malin. Is that Link's Awakening for Switch? I'm actually not too familiar with the Switch version. I don't know, Boomerang is really busted in co-op. It's not that busted in single player, so I guess there's that argument. But yeah. You basically just get a cheat code that you can go through everything with. So here we get to see Malin, and we're supposed to, like, get her back to her dad, but, you know, we're just going to disintegrate her instead. Why even bother? I don't think her dad really cares anymore. So we're gonna do an SPA here, and she's gone. We put her out of her misery. And now we can continue. Oh, yeah, it does kill Deathhole. Or, like, well, it's the last phase of Deathhole. The Boomerang kills them. Oh yeah, so this is kind of random, but carrots make you be on a horse. I think it's actually called like invincibility in the English version or something. But yeah, you can just smush stuff. It's super random. Those orbs that you may have seen dropping every now and then, they have like a very small chance of dropping a carrot. We've like theorized about how that could make some skips, but it's really hard to test because you don't get the carrot that often. Okay, so here there's that big green gem, which is 1,000. If you leave on the same frame that you grab the gem with, you dupe it. So they just got 1,000, but it's still there, and so they just get it again. So they don't have to worry about any gems in this level, pretty much. Duping is really awkward in co-op just because of the link physics, and it's, you know, the more links you have, the easier it is, but it's kind of awkward in co-op. Luckily, that one is easy to do. Well, I don't know how to do it, but yeah, Schnee gets it every single time I've seen her do it, so I don't know, she's just a god. Goddess. Okay, so as I said, like whenever this cutscene starts, usually the screen is locked, and that's the case here. So even though we have the boomerang, there's a clear like place to the left where you can transition. It still is not going to let you transition because it like manually locked the screen. However, medallions have this property where they always unlock a screen. So as soon as they use the medallion, they can just transition afterwards. That one they have to be a little bit careful of. Once you kill all of the enemies on the screen, it'll automatically suck you into the underworld where you kill like the knight. So they have to make sure that they transition like the frame after the medallion is done. So that one's a little bit more nuanced, but it's the basic mechanic. So we'll do that one more time where we use a medallion to kind of unlock a screen so we can skip it. But that won't be for a couple worlds from now. And they were like perfectly even on gems. Toad and Schnee are like way too good at co-op. They practice it more than like anybody else. Okay, so this is the swamp. This is a very infamous level in this game. So there's like very weird mechanics with the purple stuff. So it's not like a hole or whatever, where you just like fall in it. You can actually like jump off of the swamp. And nobody really understands like how it works or how to do it. And there is no like cheating items in this level. So we just get the Rock's Feather. So we have to go through this level like mostly normally, but there are those jumps that are going to happen later on. And as I said, like they're very weird. And I think in co-op it's even more awkward. But whenever I've watched them practice it, they seem to get it pretty fast. Yeah, these screens are like incredibly awkward with two people. Lily pad is not that big. How did that not kill him? Oh, they did not get a lot of gems there. Okay, there's this... So, that throw looks pretty trivial, right? It's like, okay, just stand on the end of the swamp and throw, right? If you're actually too close to the edge, Link will not throw as far, and it's, like, way harder. Okay, well, Schnee got it first try, of course. And Toad did too, nice. Yeah, that jump is way harder than it seems. It's, I don't know, you just kind of have to go for it and hope that it works. They have to do it one more time. So that skip wasn't really too big. It probably saves like 20 seconds or something. But this next one saves a lot of time. Because typically you have to go through this whole puzzle thing to get like this orb. But again, we have the swamp jump, so we can skip over this part here. And nice, you got it first try. Okay, so we're in Dampé's house. Say hi. Luckily, he doesn't have any, like, randomness or anything. He's just there to say hello, you know. And what we got in his house was the power ring. Oh, no. Did they need that? Oh, no, they're good, okay. Sometimes, so whenever, like, you throw something or something explodes, the gems go in, like, completely random directions. Sometimes you may have gems, like, go into holes or into walls. Yeah. Okay, so the general strategy here, you might recognize this boss, too. Although, this is only, like, half of the boss. You see how they didn't have the torch in the bottom left lit? On the last phase, sometimes the mask can go there, and it does this, like, flamethrower attack. It's pretty rare, but it can happen. Yeah, that was actually like a perfect swamp almost. They got the tricks like first try. Okay, this next level is pretty amazing. So this is like, so in single player, there's only two glitchless levels. There's 4-3, and then there's 7-3. 4-3 in co-op is one of the most broken levels. So you can actually just go to the very end and basically finish it, but again, gems are kind of an issue.
Am I okay to read another donation or two?
Yeah, all good.
All right, Ariel Fabulous, thank you for $75 saying good luck to all runners. And Estantia donating $100 saying, I mostly commentate OTR, but I have fond memories of playing Four Sword Adventures in person with 3 friends. Wow, that were not that many people that did that, sadly. Really sadly.
Yeah, for sure.
The fact we were still friends despite the PvP says a lot. Here's to seeing more Zelda and honoring my dad's memory. P.S. Sorry it took me so long to donate. It took a while to find the link. P.P.S. I'm not sorry. Wow, okay. This puts, by the way, Breath of the Wild at $452 of $600, so only $148 left. Let's get that going. Back to you.
Nice. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. So you saw in the beginning, they got caught on purpose, so they went to jail. And, well, the whole reason behind that, as you may have guessed, is they have the boomerang now, so that kind of answers those questions there. So from here, you can basically just... You can skip the whole level, like literally everything. But gems are an issue, so they have to kind of... They have to go through the level, but not really, because again, they have the boomerang. But just kind of go around and get the gems that they can. Yeah, if your friendship can handle the Village of the Blue Maiden, I think you got some pretty good friends there. Probably. That's the true test. Yeah, so they're going here to these... normally, like, we never touch those chests, but co-op is just so desperate for gems at this point. They kind of need to take anything they can. What really helps co-op here, because they're going to skip the boss at the end as well. Oh, I guess you don't get to see that boss, huh? That's kind of sad. Anyway. But the one thing that helps co-op here is whenever you kill all the enemies, you get 100 gems. So, I mean, in terms of this level, it's like an extra, I don't know, 300, 400 gems that you get that you don't really have to worry about. Yeah, there's some weird mechanics when you get items when you're in your the super boomerang action state. Okay, so yeah, normally there's like a bunch of puzzles here. So you have to light all the torches in this room, and then some bridges appear. But, yeah. Of course we're not going to do that, why would we? This is the boss room, where you light a bunch of lamps. Can't see anything. But we're just going to be going north. And here, because the boss cutscene doesn't start, the boss cutscene only starts when we light all the torches in that room. So if we never light the torches, the cutscene doesn't start, so the screen doesn't lock at all. Which is very convenient. This maiden's pretty good. I think she's probably one of my favorites. Solid S tier for me. Okay, so World 5 is kind of interesting. There's... all the levels are pretty different in this world. So... the first one I'm going to do is Lost Woods. You know, the very stereotypical Lost Woods level in Zelda. Although it doesn't really have kind of the typical thing where you have to go in, like, the right direction to continue. It's just like a normal level, but in sort of like a grid format. There isn't any broken items in this level, but we can do a little bit of a skip. And the skip's pretty weird, for sure. Because like if you don't have a boomerang or like a hammer, it gets pretty awkward to do skips in co-op. Okay, so luckily they can take advantage of the co-op mechanic of killing all the enemies to get some extra gems, luckily. So here they get like a free 200. They can get a free 100 here too. So what you're supposed to do in this level is you normally get the Rock's Feather here. So once you kill these wizards, there's going to be a key. And you're supposed to go in that cave on the right-hand side to get a Rock's Feather. But we can also save that key to pretty much beat the level. And we have to do this really awkward skip here. Toad is trying a thing called an FMC, where you have to basically cancel the menu and bring up the menu within a couple frame window, and try to roll across to set your spawn point to the other side of the hole. Okay, and this is actually the hardest thing in co-op, is timing those buttons correctly. But, of course, they practice this enough where they can do that. So now they have to do a similar thing to get back. And what Schnee is doing there is called a formation hover. Typically, you can only do this with the C-stick, which is why you don't see it in co-op a lot. But if you have a wall, sometimes you can take advantage of that to... yeah, to, like, stay in place, so that you can do things like that there. Okay, so the number one progression item in this level is the lamp. Because in order to really get anywhere, the stumps are in the way. And the only way to get rid of the stumps is to burn them. And they also drop 5 gems each, and they still need, like, 800 gems. So, this rock will give them some, and you just continually hit it. Now, this is completely random, what gems they get. Seems like they're getting pretty unlucky here, actually. But there's enough backups where they can fix it if they need to. Yeah, they're definitely fine here. So now that we saved that key, we can open this door. So typically we had to use that key to get the Rock's Feather, but since we saved it all the way here, we can just get the shovel right away. And the shovel lets us complete the level. So unfortunately, I haven't mentioned this yet, but there are great fairies in this game. And what you do is when you see them, they'll upgrade your item that you have. So they'll give you like a level 2 version of the item. You can actually upgrade the shovel, which you would normally do in this level, to make it a level 2 shovel. And the shovel will tell you of secret holes, like everywhere. They're gonna get the 150 here, I guess. But unfortunately, you can't upgrade the lamp, which I think is really lame. The lamp is the only item in the game that doesn't have a level 2 version. I guess they couldn't really think of what to do there. Okay, let's see if Schnee practiced her Fs. Nice, there we go. Solid. Oh no, it was too low. Yeah. Close enough. So that's like a Nova Bomb screen, I guess. Sometimes Shadow Link will appear and throw this big bomb thing. When it explodes, if you're on the TV screen, you'll just die. So you have to make sure you're in like a cave or a hole or a house or underwater so that you don't die to the bomb. And he'll just keep on throwing it until you leave. You can't like kill him or anything like that. Sometimes chests also have those bombs. just to create more chaos, I guess. Oh, the little fairy. I got you. So when you take out the barrier, something random will appear. So sometimes it's like 300 gems, sometimes it's an orb with like a chicken in it, and sometimes it's also that bomb that you saw. So it's just like a random thing that happens sometimes. So there you saw Toad did an FMC to get through the fire. There's a couple different ways to get through the fire there, but I think FMC is definitely the hardest one there, but he got it first try, which was pretty good. It's only in co-op. Yeah, whenever you're in co-op, they'll just drop like a random thing to make you hate your friends more. Because that was like their objective with this game, I think. Alright, so they went into that cave to get the boomerang. And, you know, naturally we have the boomerang, so we did that. That skip skips pretty much everything. This level is pretty long. It's actually one of the longest levels in the game, I think. Glitchless. So, because you can see it, like, it rained, like, as soon as you entered the screen, right? It's pretty glitchy. In terms of co-op, I don't think there's really any JP-only glitches. I'm not, like, 100% sure on that. But in single player, there definitely are. It's not, like, that much of a difference. Although, like, JP's way easier to play on because of certain mechanics that work with switching. But overall, I think it's only, like, a couple minute difference at the very most. And so here they're just doing the end of the level. Again, just getting gems. I mean, the gems are pretty free here. Now, at the end of this level, there is one of those soldiers again. Kind of like in the horse level, when they skipped that whole boss fight. They're going to do a similar thing here. Now, they don't have a medallion like they used last time. But kind of like when they skipped Phantom Ganon in like one of the first levels. As long as you exit the screen before the cutscene starts, the screen won't be locked. And so as long as they can transition fast, which they're going to do right here, they're going to kind of set up for it, then they can completely skip this cutscene here. And I guess we're only going to see one of these, but these boss fights that we're skipping give you these jewels. I guess you don't see the start menu much, but you get like 4 jewels, kind of like I guess in Minish Cap, they're like the elements. They're the same thing, basically. Minish Cap just stole them from Four Swords Adventures. But yeah, so they skip that boss fight, luckily. I think if they miss that, it's kind of annoying to fix. But yeah, they skip that fight, which that saves like over a minute probably. Okay, so the next level is a pretty convoluted one. Actually, I think it has another boss skip. That boss skip is really strange. At least we'll get to see Phantom Ganon this time, rather than just like completely skipping him. Yeah, there's actually a couple clips in this level that are pretty cool that we haven't seen yet. Oh yeah, and this is the first level where they get the hammer. I didn't realize they got it so good, actually. So, the hammer is a pretty broken item too. Although, because the boomerang is just so good, they don't really use the hammer too much anymore. Because you need a level where there's no boomerang, but there is the hammer. And actually, they'll get the boomerang in this level later on as well. So the hammer will only shine for a little bit, but it's still pretty neat. One thing you can't do is, like, if one of the links is in a GBA screen and your other Link is in the TD screen, you can't switch between the two. So that's why a lot of the times they have to wait until they exit to like switch to their other person. Okay, so here's like a death clip that's going to happen. Bombs are pretty useful because once they respawn, they create this hitbox on top of you, especially if you're in this like dead state. Then it allows you to get on like a second layer to just clip through everything. This is one of the 2 screens in the game that is like completely different than single player. So there was one in 2.3 with Argus, and then this one is also completely different. It doesn't look anything like this in single player. So this is the first instance of a hammer clip that we're going to see. So I'm just killing that guy, just get him out of the way and get some free gems. So in order to do this clip, one of the players is going to need 3 links. Just because usually 2 isn't enough to clip through things, since everything's like a tile wide. They're going to have to do a specific setup so that the other links get clipped in. Yeah, so there they wanted to do the hammer far enough away so that red link didn't get stunned, but the other ones did. And so that pretty much pushes the other links through the object they're trying to go through. Okay, and well, you know, the hammer was cool and all, but we found our quest, or we completed our quest to find the boomerang, so that's all done now. Time to just roll through walls. It was good while it lasted. So typically in this next room, you need the lamp to get through everything. So you see, you're not going to be able to see anything once we get through here. But it's basically just this large puzzle to get to this staircase that's right above them. So again, they're just going to do the SBA to SPA to clip through walls. This one is a pretty dangerous SBA to do. Well, maybe I shouldn't say anything yet. Okay. If they mess that up, they have to restart the level. And it doesn't really even save that much time. But if you ever speedrun this game, that's the mentality that all of us take for some reason. We do dumb stuff to save 5 seconds because we're desperate to save some time. Alright, so now we actually get to see Phantom Ganon. This skip's really weird. So the screen is locked because we saw the boss cutscene. However, there's 2 Phantom Ganons that are real. One is a green and one is red. But for some reason, once you kill the green Phantom Ganon, the screen becomes unlocked, and you can just skip it. We don't really understand how that works, but sure. At least we got to see Phantom Ganon this time around, instead of just completely skipping him. Okay, so this is probably the favorite maiden. And I get it, right? You know, twin tails and all that stuff. But like, look at these text boxes. She'll just like stop talking and then she'll continue. It's so obnoxious. Anyone that doesn't play this game, usually that's like their favorite. But for runners, we can't stand it because she just doesn't shut up. But I understand. I know. I mean, look, she's still A tier. It's hard to deny the twin tails, for sure. Alright, World 6. This is a pretty infamous world for, like, probably the hardest world in the game. I think in co-op it's probably also true. But yeah, there's definitely some interesting stuff that goes on here. So you have to talk to, like, the queen lady in order to get access to the top screen, for whatever reason. And then the Links just push a whole pyramid. But, I mean, you're just super strong, I guess, whatever. This screen is a little awkward, so there's a timer on a portal that's to the northeast, and you kind of want to make, you want to make the right cycle. That portal is a little bit glitchy, so it's really awkward to get the right timing on it. But you pretty much have to kill these Gibdos, and they go to the underworld, and then you kill their skeletons down there or something. So, normally what we have to do in this level is, so, as I mentioned the Great Fairies before, you get like level 2 items. The level 2 boots make you float above pits. But we have a glitch called Floating Link Glitch, which I just did there, where you can become immune to, like, things on the ground. It's kind of awkward to explain, because even though you're floating, you'll still fall through holes and stuff. However, in this level it's pretty useful because the quicksand does not... the quicksand does not affect you if you're in this, like, floating link glitch state. So that's why you really only see it in this level and not too many other places. But one way you can get it is by, like, getting jump slash recoil. Typically that happens when you jump slash, like, a shield or something. But in this level you can jump slash the cacti and it'll give you the glitch. This is another version of it too. This is actually pretty easy to do on accident. But if you jump, or if you're in the air and your other link is holding an item, if you deselect the link real fast, they'll actually stay in the air. That's just another version of the same thing. And, like, on this screen, there's nothing to get recoil off of, so that's why they grab an item first to do the floating link glitch there. And in order to get height, they just bonk off the wall. This screen has, like, a maze that you can just easily break by jump slashing, because they didn't really make the mechanics there too well. Here you'll see a double bonk. So the boots have this really weird mechanic where if you're, like, in formation and you bonk, you can get, like, a double bounce if you immediately Pegasus boots in the other direction. Guess they're getting more gems. So here's another instance of jump storage. So they did this in the beginning of the run. But they can basically skip this whole screen. Normally you had to press 4 switches to get rid of the quicksand, yada yada yada, but they can do jump storage here to get to the upper left-hand corner. You can only do 2. I think so. Yeah, I think it dissipates after the second one. We're not really sure how, or why. that even happens. It's a very strange mechanic. Okay, so finally you'll be able to see one of these boss fights. So we've skipped 2 of these already. Again, these are the fights for like the elements that you saw in Minish Cap. So typically what you have to do is destroy all the enemies on the main screen, and then it'll suck you in, and you kill like the Skeleton Knight dude. It was like a Hylian soldier or something. The hitboxes on these enemies are atrocious. It's kind of a sin. They really make no sense. Their shield is just huge, and you'll just recoil constantly and get hit, and they do a lot of damage too. So it's very awkward to fight them. Yeah, so we skipped 2 of these fights already. Now, you're supposed to be getting these jewels, right? But so you'll see when the start screen comes up, we already have the 2 that we skipped. Because, I mean, the game just gives them to you. You know, since this game is level-based, I guess they don't really care about, like, actual progression. So you see we have the blue and the green one. Of course, we didn't fight those. We didn't do those fights at all. So, yeah, pretty much. I mean, the game actually, like, it gives it to you when you pass the screen. So, yeah, I don't really know how that works exactly, but it's interesting. So that was 6-1. So 6-2 has... Oh, 6-2 uses the hammer. Again. There's no boomerang or anything, but we get to do a couple hammer clips, I think. Which is nice. Okay, so this is this level has a lot of Igors, but because we skip one of the keys, it actually becomes a lot shorter. And there is a lot of jank when it comes to the hitboxes of some of these things. Okay, so here they just have to press a few switches to make it all deserty or something. Not exactly sure how this works, but, you know, just Zelda dungeon stuff. Okay, so here you usually need to get a key, which is underneath, like, the ground that you get the hammer for, to hit that switch that's under the pot on the bottom. But again, using a hammer clip, we can skip unlocking that block, and then keep the key for a different door. I think that might have been an accident. Yeah, so that's the kind of stuff that just happens all the time, because roll and... yeah. Roll and grab are the same button, so... you're in close quarters with everything, so it's pretty difficult. Here you have to lure this Igor away so that you can pull this lever. Sometimes he doesn't move in the direction that you want him to, and it can get kind of obnoxious. Yeah, push button, get sand, of course. Okay, so naturally to kill these the Igors, you need to use the bow. They take 2 shots. So usually you get a Lincoln formation, and then just shoot both, and then die. Arrows have... or arrow and the bow are very janky. The hitboxes don't really make much sense most of the time. So this screen is usually okay. But this next screen is something else. So these Armo statues have like the worst hitbox in the history of ever. Oh yeah, and the I-beam statues are pretty bad too. Trying to shoot around these things is just the worst. Now, they actually did a pretty good job. There's also another really weird glitch with this room. They didn't do it here, but if you save the right column for the last thing to light, it won't light the last torch, so you have to like shoot another arrow. The game just like for some reason lags a lot if you try to save that row of lights last, and it'll just completely miss the last torch. No, it's the same in single player. Yeah, there's only 2 rooms that are different from what I know. Like, as in, like, completely different. There are some different variations, but most of it's the same. Okay, so here, normally you have to use the bow. Like, you have to wait for them... That happens so fast. You have to wait for the Goma to open their eye, and then you shoot it, and you wait again, and you do that 3 times. But you can just throw links at it, and it'll just die in 2 hits. Like, you can throw the link to damage it, and it does more damage than the regular bow. So, yeah. It's pretty convenient. You can also throw your links to kill the I-beam statues as well. Which is pretty random. My gem was in the way. It was kind of annoying. This is also one of the worst Shadow Link fights. Because they can go in those portals and... yeah, it can get pretty rough. So the next level is 6-3. 6-3 is... it's one of the longest levels in the game, I think. Actually, it might be the longest. Oh, if you don't count the last level is kind of cheating, but... I think if you were to do it, like, glitchless, it's probably the longest one. Because I think it normally takes, like, 9 minutes, or 10 minutes if you're pretty fast. But it all revolves around this one room. It's like a big circle. And then the whole goal is to basically get in the center and get bombs so you can continue. But yeah, we can skip all of that stuff. Yeah, pulling levers is pretty difficult in co-op. Sometimes Dolphin likes to drop inputs for some reason, and then like so as I was saying, like, you're on this whole quest to, like, first you get like Pegasus boots, and you have to upgrade the Pegasus boots, and then you get the lamp to light some torches, which lets you do some other thing, and then you finally get like a pearl that lets you get into the center of the room. It takes a pretty long time. And there's like 4 or 5 different screens you have to go to throughout this like main hub. But as long as we have a way to clip, we can get inside that middle room, luckily. The thing is, there is not a boomerang in this level. So it's not as trivial as some of the other skips that they've already done. However, we do still have... so we don't have SBA, which is like the boomerang stuff, but we do have SPA, which does let us do clips. It's a little more precise and finicky, but you can definitely abuse it in some places. Okay, so again, they need to get some more gems here. So they're going to set up this clip, and it's going to be kind of similar to the Phantom Gundam skip in the first world. where they clipped into a wall, and then they died to get the 10-second timer, and then clip through. So they're going to do this SPA to get, I guess, Schnee into the wall. Or, oh, it was Toad, actually. I lied. Then they're going to... Or Toad is going to die using this convenient Gibdo here. And because he has a lot of gems, Toad will get a 10-second timer. And he can clip through the wall here. Sorry, PK. My bad. Now, one thing he has to make sure of is that one of the links is on the other side. So, the reason why he grabbed Schnee's other link is so that purple is still on the other side of the wall. If they didn't do that, they're pretty much stuck, I think. There's really nothing they can do. So it was very important that he kept one of his links on the other side there. Because there's really no way to get back unless you have all 4 people. Okay, so here they're just setting up the bridges so they can get across. Okay, so if you haven't guessed by now, well, you see all these Moldorms, mini Moldorms here. The boss is going to be a Moldorm. Although in this game it's called a Dagtail. I don't really know how to explain that, but sure. So the boss will change the color of the tail every time you hit it. And then you just have to hit it with the corresponding color. This is pretty annoying in practice, because you have to wait for it to go, and there's all these holes around the main arena, so it's really easy to fall. And when they hit Dagtail enough, they will spawn 2 of them. So then there's 2 kind of going around that you have to hit, and it's very easy to fall down. They can use recoil floating link glitch here, kind of like they did in the cactus level. But it's kind of difficult to do in co-op, because to maintain the floating link glitch, you have to keep on moving. And so in co-op, it's pretty easy to run into each other and all of that stuff. It's a lot easier in single player, for sure. Okay, they actually did really well so far. Okay, they got that second one really down really fast. Okay, now it's going really fast, so this is just the last hit. And you should die. That was amazing. That was probably the best I've ever seen that fight done. Okay, so Ganon stole, like, the trident or something. Okay, I've been running this game for almost 8 years and I don't remember. Alright, so now I got Purple Maiden. Purple Maiden's a solid A, I think. This cutscene's really long, so that kind of hurts. Maybe an A-. Something like that. Still pretty decent, though. Oh, there's all the maidens, just in case you forgot any of them. This cutscene is about Zelda or something. I don't know. So basically you saved all the maidens, so now we're going to get Zelda and defeat the main villain. Okay, so now we only have 2 worlds left. So World 7 and World 8. World 7 is pretty broken, although 7-3 is not really a great level. So I mentioned before that in single player, the only glitchless levels are 4-3 and 7-3. Fortunately, it did not change in co-op. Mostly because of the way that the level is designed. You can't really skip much, which is kind of sad, but it's okay. And because it's glitchless, that kind of makes it like the longest level in the game almost. The boss fight is really cool though. Okay, so 7-1, back to the main program where we just get the boomerang and then try to skip as much as we can. As usual, they have to be careful about gems here, because since we're skipping everything. So they're going to kill these turtles, which give like 40 gems. And they also get the 100 from killing everything too. So they're taking a little bit of a detour here. Normally you wouldn't do this, it's not really worth it. Because it's really easy to die and all that stuff. However, they're after one specific item on the screen that is very important. And you also get a bunch of gems here, so it's not like completely worthless to go over. Okay, so down in this screen, there is a chest, a pretty important item. GBA physics are a little awkward, so killing enemies is not very easy. Okay, so here, when they open the chest, you'll see they get a medallion. And we know the medallion is pretty useful for skipping screens. So we're going to use this again to skip a boss fight at the end. And yeah, so we have the boomerang, so naturally, we're just going to try to skip everything here. And yeah, so they use the boomerang to clip out, and then they can continue. Yeah, I've played some custom FSA levels. There is actually a level editor, if you just look it up. I think it's a little primitive right now, but someone did some pretty, or I think it was Jay the Ham, did some pretty good work. At least for a basis, so it would be cool if someone picked it back up and made it more fleshed out. Okay, so here we have another lobster fight, and this one is on ice, just to make it even more obnoxious. They did that so fast. I can't even describe like how hard that is. Man, that was awesome. You have to be like so incredibly coordinated to do that. So this next screen is the soldier fight, where they get the last jewel. I think it's the earth element, even though it's last. But yeah, so the screen is locked, and we're going to use the medallion to unlock the screen. Luckily, we don't have to do that thing where we try to like immediately exit. That's because this medallion's a little bit different, because it turns all the enemies into blobs. It doesn't like immediately kill them. So this one's a little bit easier, as long as you don't get owned by walls and stuff like that. Yeah, so that was 7... Yeah, that was 7-1.
Hello, and we have a $100 donation coming in from Romer21XX. This donation for the cause. Thanks to Trez and company for the hours of entertainment and hard work you guys do every day. Keep up the good work. Romer, thanks again for your $100 donation.
All right, 7-2. I'm trying to remember. Yeah, there is a boomerang in this level. There's also one of the worst screens in this game. It's actually pretty scary in co-op because I haven't mentioned another way to soft lock here. Whenever they do the SBAs, that's like when they throw the boomerang and then they pick another player up. And so they can go through walls. If the link that picked up the other player dies, it's a complete soft lock, and you have to reset the level. So typically that's not a problem, but there is one screen in this level where there's stuff everywhere, and it's really hard to avoid dying. There's also ice, and naturally ice is kind of annoying. Yeah, I said in the beginning of the run that Dolphin now has an integrated GBA system, and so it's really easy to do net play with this game now. And so it's gotten a lot more popular in our community. Yeah, okay. So this is the screen that's awful. Toad has to make sure he doesn't die. Because if he does die, then it's really bad. And these bomb chews just fly everywhere. Okay, good. He didn't die. Oh! Okay, we're good. So, that was really close. But, Schnee canceled the SBA glitch right before Toad died. So it didn't soft lock or anything. Because what you would see happen is, like, they would be stuck on top of each other. And then they can't really do anything. So yeah, that could have been really bad. This is a Shadow Link fight that they're just going to skip. So you can just roll over the trigger for some reason. Okay, just doing normal boomerang stuff. Okay, so again, because they're skipping everything, they have to get some more gems. So they're going to take a little bit of a detour to this right screen. Because this screen has like 400 gems in it. Which they're going to need to complete the level. Because there's just not really much left here. In this fight coming up, they can't skip, unfortunately, because of the way that it works. So there's like a staircase that happens. Oh, so if you see them walking just on air, it's because of the boomerang. If you boomerang and then pick someone up, they basically are cheating and can just go over everything. So it makes a lot of things pretty broken. But yeah, so they have to do this fight because the staircase will appear and it's not there yet, so they can't just like clip through. The gems are looking a little... Okay, actually, yeah, they're fine. They're fine. It's pretty... This level does not have many gems, and it's hard to make sure you have enough. Especially since a lot of it is random. Yeah, of course. Boomerang makes you fly. Easy explanation. Navi tracker speedrun? Yeah. It's kind of unfortunate that it's pretty mundane. It's kind of like an auto-scroller almost. Otherwise, it would be interesting. So you need to get gems, because at the end of each level there's a barrier. You'll see it after this cutscene. But once you get 2,000, you upgrade your sword, and that allows you to break the barrier. So here's all the elements that we totally got. You know, we got all of them, not only just one of them, definitely. So obviously the game just does not care what's going on. Yeah, definitely. Definitely don't only have one. Yeah, we just found some rocks and then painted them. I really like that idea. That's pretty good. Yeah, so here the barrier. They need the power-up sword to break that. So that's kind of the goal of every level. If you don't have enough, and you hit the barrier, it'll send you back to the beginning of the level, but you'll have all of your gems. So, and once you get 2,000, it'll just like send you back to the end. So it's not like you lose minutes by not having enough. It's pretty forgiving in that sort of way. Alright, so now unfortunately, we have 7-3. So this is basically glitchless. There might be like one thing they do in co-op that I don't quite remember. But yeah, so the reason why this level doesn't really have any skips is because of the way the layout works. So you're in this kind of like a vertical 2D section, and you can't even use any formations. So you're very limited to what you can do. Unfortunately, the hurricane spin is only used as like a meme at the end of levels. You never really use it for any purpose. In single player, there is a skip with the hurricane spin, but it's really mostly because it looks cool. It doesn't really save that much time. Here's probably like the only skip in the level. So the game wants you to get the slingshot to hit those switches, but with a pretty good timed jump slash, you can just hit the switch without it. But I mean, it's kind of like barely a skip, really. So the main gimmick of this level is you switch between the fire rod and the roc's feather. But well, in co-op, you don't really have to switch between them because one person can have the fire rod, other person can have the roc's feather. And so you can actually like skip a lot of rooms in this level because of co-op, which is nice. Okay, so here, Toad's gonna get the Rock's Feather. And then for the rest of the level, like Toad will just keep Rock's Feather, Schnee will keep the Fire Rod, and then they'll just go through it like that. Yeah, one of the very like important optimizations of this game is like putting links down where you're going to exit, so that as soon as you're done with the screen, you can just switch to them and then leave. And in co-op, you can even do it more, because like the other player can carry your link to the edge of the screen while you're doing something. So there's a lot of like little optimizations in this game that are pretty cool. Oh yeah, the thwomps are really weird. They have some pretty glitchy mechanics. Yeah, classic Zelda enemy. We do have to do a little thing here where we like ride the thwomps to the upper left. And so since Schnee doesn't have the Rock's Feather. Toad has to carry her everywhere, pretty much. So there are chain chomps in this game as well. We skipped them. But in the one level where it was like raining and there were shadow links, if you go through it normally, there's one screen with a chain chomp in it. Yeah, this game is basically a mix of like Wind Waker and A Link to the Past. Has a lot of Link to the Past references. So here they're just, just killing the enemies, going through the level. Since it's 2D, it's like pretty awkward to kill these things. Especially because you can't use formations and things like that. So the mechanics are quite different. Oh yeah, they're cheaps too. They were in the desert level. I guess I didn't point them out though. Okay, so here's the boss. This is probably like the only thing cool about this level, to be honest. For like approximately 10 seconds, this game turns into like Smash, pretty much. Even though it's like way more janky, probably. Okay, so there's this like red thing that is keeping the monster like stuck on the ceiling. So you have to kill that thing, and then it'll fall down. And then you do like a 1v1 with the boss until it dies. And you have to hit its eye like 4 times. Oh, they got a fire rat shot, nice. It's really hard to hit with the fire rat there. The eye like hurt box is actually pretty hard to hit most of the time. And then to finish it off, you do like a down air to kill it. It's pretty awesome. Okay. And then, yeah, game. And now we finally saved Zelda. Obviously, S2 made it.
And we have another donation coming in, a $10 donation from Anonymous that says, Mystery RNG threw pretty nasty settings for me, so the solution is obviously to spread my frustration around, right? Thanks again for your $10 donation.
Right, so now we're on to the final level. The final level is actually one of the coolest ones in the run, co-op and single player. So all of these levels are like super duper busted. 8-1 especially, it's a really short level, although co-op and single player are like entirely different, but they're still interesting. 8-1 co-op is really, really hard. Although, all the times I've watched them do it, they've been really good at it, so we'll see how they do it this time. But the one thing that's really weird is there's this, like, transition mechanic that's kind of unintended. But in co-op, you have to transition at the same time. So it makes it really hard. You have to be super coordinated too. And again, you know, they're playing online, like on net play, so there's some delay and all of that. So you're not supposed to be able to transition on the side of these statues, but if they jump slash at the same time, they can do this transition. Actually, this is probably a difference between Japanese and different versions. So I don't think this works on the other versions of the game. That's like one of the main differences. Okay, so now they have to do it again. But now Schnee has to do it over a hole. So, again, the timing is like really precise, and yeah, there we go. So now they'll just pick up, or once Toad gets the formation up, she can just pick him up and then they can go over. Typically you have to do a little puzzle there to get a Rock's Feather, so that's what's supposed to happen. But luckily these clouds are close enough so that you can just throw links over. Okay, so now they're going to get the hammer, which they don't really use to do a hammer glitch here. They do the same jump slash thing though. So they got first try. Although there it's a little easier because only one person has to do it, I suppose. So they're not going to do any hammer clips in this level, but the hammer does help to get gems, which they kind of need here. There's also another lobster fight. This one tends to be the easiest lobster fight just because there's so much open space. But as always, they do it perfectly. Picking up people by accident, just naturally, you know. That's like half of this run, pretty much. Okay, on this screen they have to kill all of these bomb guys to open the fire things, whatever you want to call them. So they have to do a couple little tricks there to do it pretty fast, because the cycles of the clouds are really slow. This next screen is probably the most awkward one. So there's not a lot of room on the screen above to do the transition here. And again, they have to time their jump slashes correctly. But Schnee does not have enough room to land on the cloud, so she's just going to fall infinitely. But as long as you're close enough, the other player can pick you up from your infinite fall. So luckily they're able. So technically that's kind of a soft lock, but as long as the other player can reach you, you can get grabbed out of falling, which is very convenient. Okay, so then they're just hitting that button to get across here. Here they're going to do a... so we've seen before where if someone dies... Oh, actually, they're going to do the hammer clip here. I forgot about this. I think there's another method where you can just do the death method, like with the zombie links just floating through. This is definitely the harder method, but it's a lot faster. Nice, they got it. That was actually really fast. There's your bomb. So, technically it's like optimal to do that, because when you get hit by the bomb, you lose like 20 gems or something. So that saves a few frames in the results screen. So now they have S or 8-2. A2 does not have a boomerang, unfortunately, but there is still a few skips here. Actually, I guess one of the skips they do is like probably one of the biggest skips in the game, just because the cutscenes are so long. So this stuff does have a 2D section, unfortunately, but it's only half of the levels, so... Because 2D sections, or not 2D, but the vertical sections really limit into what you can do in terms of glitches and stuff like that. Okay, so in this next screen, so they're going to get the bow here. There's actually a pixel-perfect shot that they can do to light all the switches at once. Normally you have to do them one by one, but there's a really easy setup to get it into that like exact pixel. So I'll do a little setup here to get right, then they'll hop up, and then you can hit all the switches at once. So there actually is an FSA task. It's single player, but to be honest, if you watch it, it doesn't look like single player. It looks like there's 4 individual people playing. It's really, really good. I highly suggest watching it. It's only like an hour and a half, just because it goes so fast. Honestly, a 4-player task would be slower. Possibly. You have a lot more flexibility when you do 1 player. But it still could be kind of interesting. Okay, so this Nova Bomb screen is probably like one of the tougher ones in the game. There's a lot of different doors to go through, and there's a lot of cycles that you have to be careful of. Yeah, and him throwing the bomb can actually like hit you, which is really silly. Oh, nice. Yeah, if you try to line up that shot manually, it's pretty tough. Luckily, there's a pretty easy setup for it. Okay, so now they're finally done the vertical section, and they're in like a normal level now. There's going to be some skips here. One of the things that's very odd about these whiz robes, so you see how they'll drop like 200 gems or something? You can't, if you kill them with the bow, they don't drop anything. But if you kill them otherwise, they will drop gems. So Schnee has to kill them with the bombs to really do anything. Okay, so here's the first like real formation hover of the run. So if you get in formation and then quickly go to the right, you can kind of walk around walls. This trick is pretty random. You really can't... It just either works or it doesn't. Getting around the corner is pretty tough. So yeah, so she got around. And then you can kind of hop one of your links on the edge there. And this completely skips the hammer. So you see those little moles there. Usually you need to get the hammer to do that. Okay. So here they messed up the SPA, which, I mean, typically it happens 1 or 2 times, but, you know, they've been in these situations before, and they know how to fix it. So they're just going to reset and try it again. Okay, just trying to coordinate where everyone needs to be. And there you go. Okay. Okay, so now they need to get through this maze. Typically you use the hammer to like figure out where the spikes are. I would say that we know where the spikes are, but half the time we think like the game changes and we don't remember where all the stuff is. But it's pretty fast just to get through it. There's also like a missing part of the maze, I think. This might only be on the Japanese version. Because usually you're supposed to go around to the right and like go around to do that.
And excuse the interruption, we have a $25 donation from Battle00333 that says, never seen Master Sword in Breath of the Wild before. Let's make it happen. Thanks again for your $25 donation, Battle.
Thank you. And so here they just have a little guard fight. There is a really weird thing where you can like despawn those guards like forever until you reset your game, and well, it completely breaks the game. It's not a good thing. But luckily they didn't run into that this run, because sometimes it'll just randomly happen in co-op. Okay, so finally it took a few minutes, but we ended our quest of achieving the boomerang, so now we can just skip the rest of the level. There's only like 2 screens left. But this screen upcoming is probably the longest screen in the game. So this is like the final Shadow Link fight. So as long as you don't trigger the cutscene, it's all good. But yeah, that whole fight takes like 3 minutes or something. So it's a pretty large skip. Okay, well, we're at the last level, and they are definitely on PB pace here. By a lot, actually. Hopefully I didn't jinx them. But this is a really, really good run so far. So, this last level, in single player, it's actually faster to do it with like 1 player, 2 controllers. So with 2 people, it's even faster. This level is completely busted in co-op. I run single player mostly, and I haven't done this level single player in like 4 years or something. Maybe 5. Okay, so basically the level's over right when they pull this lever. This level's super long. The 4 corners here are like the trials. So there's like the bow trial, boomerang trial, Pegasus boots, and so on. But, you know, they give us the boomerang, so of course we're going to use it. This screen is really rough. These ogres can just destroy. And they got pretty lucky, so that's good. The Gomas here are kind of awkward, but as long as you time it right, it's all good. This is the only level where we don't need a power-up sword. Because the barrier only blocks an entrance. It doesn't, like, spawn finishing tiles. So we don't really have to worry about gems here. And here is Vadi. Yeah, so basically that whole level was like 2 minutes, when typically it takes like, probably casually, it probably takes like 15 or 20. For some reason in co-op, so in single player you have to hit Vadi with 3 bombs, but in co-op they made it 6. But it's not like you can throw 2 bombs up there. I mean, you can, 1 person really is the only... this is like the fastest you can possibly do this fight. You can't really do anything else. And another difference here with the Vadi fight is that one of the players has to stun Vadi with the bow, and then the other player will hit Vadi with their sword. The bomb timing can get a little rough here, especially if you get like off rhythm. The hitboxes aren't the greatest. So here Schnee will just keep on hitting it with the bow. And then Toad will do like a down air to kill it. Second phase, it just kind of randomly goes around in the GBA screen. You have to hit it a few times. And then it'll go up to finish it off the same way the first phase went. And that was really fast. Nice. You can make the bombs explode manually, but it's like in the tornado, so it's up high, so you can't like hit it. Okay, so surprisingly, that wasn't the final boss. There's a final boss. There is actually a really weird co-op softlock here in this room. Okay, I didn't jinx it. Nice. Where you can, like, glitch out that cutscene and it just doesn't continue, and you have to reset the level. There are a lot of softlocks in this level, and they're all, like, really bad, because you have to completely reset the level here. Oh yeah, there's not like a manual detonator thing. It's just like you can hit it to explode it. Right. Showing off some swag movement with the down airs there. This is just like your stereotypical collapse. In single player, it's... well, yeah, in single player it's really lame. It's just like an auto-scroller. Zelda moves really slow. In co-op, it's a little more interesting because you can do this Boomerang Glitch. And the Boomerang Glitch does work on these vertical screens. It's definitely a little more awkward, but you can do some pretty cool stuff. So like here, they're going to do a bridge clip, and that lets them hit the switch really fast. And, like, it doesn't really matter how fast you kill those enemies. As long as you do it before Zelda gets down, it's, like... it's the same speed. So here's one of the screens that makes co-op super fast here. You have to press, like, 3 switches. But because you can basically go whenever, you can just press all the switches right away. So there's this weird glitch they just did. So when Schnee walked into the door, she had her hands up. And what this does is it actually disables every GBA screen for Green Link, or Toad. So it doesn't matter now because it's the end of the level pretty much, and they don't have to worry about that. But the last boss does have this move that, like, involuntarily sucks you into a GBA screen. And so if Green is not allowed to go to GBA screens anymore, they can basically just completely ignore that attack. And it makes the boss fight a lot easier. Now we get to the big reveal. The most beautiful maiden in the game. Of course, Zelda gets captured again. Now, this is some real waifu material here. So this Ganon fight is pretty difficult. it's really easy to die. Although in co-op, it's not too much of an issue. But basically, you're just trying to hit it as much as you can. And so it doesn't have any, like boss mechanics, I guess. You put it that way. The first phase, it shoots this lightning, and when the lightning hits you, you get sucked into a GBA screen. As I said, Green Link won't get sucked in because it has that glitch. Then it has the second phase, which is very obnoxious. It'll switch the places of all the Links and Ganon. And so you don't really know when you're going to end up when he teleports. And the Trident takes up like half of the screen, so it's basically impossible to dodge half the time. But then after this, we're in the very stereotypical tennis phase of the final boss. So he should be dead pretty soon. Yeah, there we go. And so this is the last phase, and we saved Zelda for a second time. Now there is some optimization here. So when he shoots his balls that you're supposed to hit back, he'll shoot a green ball and then a red ball. And you can actually get double hits if you time it well. So like Toad will try to hit it back, and then Yadra will try to get the second one. It's pretty much random if you get it or not. Okay, so Toad missed the first one, but I mean, that's fine. Okay, almost got the second one. It really is random. It depends on where Ganon moves. Oh, damn. Almost could have got that there. One thing Yadra's trying to do, Schnee, is to keep Zelda on the left-hand side. And so that they can shoot the ball. And that's time. Right, nice. So that was about a PB, like a PB of 5 minutes or something. Over 5 minutes. That was actually incredibly good.
Wow. That was quite a bit underestimate. That's amazing.
Yeah, some of the estimate was for desyncs, so...
Yeah. 2:21:16 was the time that I roughly came... No, actually 13 was the time that I came down to. And that's pretty damn amazing.
Oh yeah, as Myth said in the chat, Toad beat his own single-player time, so that's how fast co-op can be.
Amazing.
So.
All right, really cool. Quickly asking if one of them want to come in.
I think this is about a good time to jump in and say we had an anonymous $50 donation come in here a few minutes ago, Trez. So big thank you to whoever made that donation.
True. Really good. But yeah, that was something. Hey, Toads.
Hello.
BG.
Yo.
Sorry for being so far below estimate.
Hey, you put us back on track. That's perfect.
Let's go.
So, beating your PB, right?
Yeah, this beats my
Yes.
single player PB.
Yeah.
I don't know how that was a 2:21 though. I guess we didn't really have any major mistakes though.
The only mistake you guys had was an 8-2, I think.
Yeah,
Really.
that was the only bigger one.
That was it.
That was a very clean run otherwise.
It was really good.
Really cool.
And sorry for all the frame drops. I don't know.
It wasn't that bad actually. Like it started in the second to last level,
Yeah.
or second to last world, and it wasn't that terrible. So all good, and a great run.
Thank you, thank you.
All right, so big gigantic shout out to both Toads and to Schneeheide, and also to Navilin for the commentary. And with this, we can actually go back to break. And then, prepare for Breath of the Wild, the longest run of the schedule of this marathon. All shrines extended, gonna be over 6 hours. So stay tuned for that, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for bringing us over $4,400. We're really close to ZSRM 18, and see you soon.